like the headphones, they're not actually, playing it properly. All right. Thank you very much for actually tuning in. It's again Yusuf, the host of the Daily Money Market. Definitely, again today it's another recap of the week, and we, wanted to actually recap what has been happening for this week, just to see how we can understand the economy at the moment, how we can understand what actually is going on at the particular time. So the biggest news that this week we saw the company, the biggest company, one of the biggest company, if I may say, of in terms of tech, in terms of communication, and it's TikTok. So TikTok, they were at the news. The biggest issue that they have a little bit of conversation between China relation lawmakers praise an app of the CEO over the Chinese ties at hiring. That's the news. It was coming all the way from the Beijing. So the US and the China relationship was dealt in another blow at the lawmakers because of the how the TikTok executive officer, the chief executive officer, in fact, over the popular apps ties of the China. And the Beijing said it would fight any US attempt to force the company the sales by its Chinese owners. So pretty much, the Federal Reserve of the United States, they're not looking at taking a TikTok as one of the company that they can have a business in the United States or maybe to other European countries. So they've been actually from last week pressing them, making sure that they stop operating in those areas, so that they can be able to actually operate in their own area. And then companies like Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook, going to benefit from that, because definitely, if TikTok is not in a picture, people they will run to look for a different type of app or different type of technology company that they can be able to associate with. So that's normal to everyone. You always look for another platform that you can use, another opportunity that you can try it on. So what they are saying in Beijing is that they're gonna try themselves, to fight, because US said, okay, if you wanna operate in our area, what you have to do is sell some of the share price of your company, to United States, to some of the people in the United States, so that the United States can have some sort of like ownership and be able to benefit out of that. So that's one of the biggest news. We saw the Hong Kong Sing instrument itself going all the way down because of that type of news coming from Beijing. So that's one of the biggest news that come out this week. Not only that, there were a couple of news definitely that actually come from this week. We also, let me check it out. We also saw the Bank of England actually lifts by the quarter point following the Fed's, coming up with the release of the, interest rate. So we saw the Bank of England goes all the way to 50 basis points, that being increased from people in the United Kingdom. And here the news they're talking about the Bank of England that raised its key interest rate by the quarter percentage point on a Thursday. That was Thursday, today's Friday, that was yesterday. A fresh sign that the policymakers around the world are determining to press down on inflation despite strength in the banking system. So the central bank have previously indicated that they might pause the series of rate increases that the dates back to the December 2021, but an expected pickup in inflation during the Fed helped the pursue the policymakers that another increase in a below borrowing cost was need to call for a price raising. So definitely what I'm seeing here is just because of the banks, how the banks has been affected. So because of the banks get really, really affected and they actually need some certain organization to actually rescue them from that so that they can be able to actually, continue function in terms of the deposit account. So the Fed increases the interest rate, but they didn't really increase to 75 basis. They go all the way to 50 basis points, which is really also uh, not really good because of, the price of things in the United Kingdom is now going to rise up all the way up. So definitely, it's not really good for the people that are living in the UK right now. Things are really really getting expensive, and we saw it. So the reason why we're talking about this thing is because of we know for sure. We know for sure that if this thing is happening, definitely is going to translate to us. At certain particular time, we'll feel this thing by things that we will buy or by our reserve increasing the certain interest rate. Now we start paying a lot, buying things a little bit of more expensive. Uh, so another topic was just following up about the SVB, which is the Silicon Valley Bank. So we saw that it says the top Washington officials closes the rescue of SVB signature deposit. So what the news were actually saying, according to uh, Wall Street Journal, is for more than a decade after the collapse of Lehman Brothers in 2008 in Washington, the regulators' watchdogs sought to ensure that they would never again face the fraud, weakened deliberations about popping up the financial system from the bank failure. Obviously, the last weekend he did for the Nation Top Economic to boost the banks. So that was the conversation last weekend, so that they can be able to boost the banks. So the pretty much the story is here is that as we seen from last week, Silicon Bank has been going all the way down because of the Fed that they give them the sanction. They don't have enough money in terms of the deposit bank, deposit account. So we saw towards last week the investors, biggest investors, saying that, hey guys, we associate with this bank. We need government to do something so that at least it can be one of the it can come out from that. So imagine a bank like absa collapse. These are banks that our grandparents, our parents been banking with that or been using to get maybe bonds from that, receiving money from their pensions from that, and that type of a bank collapse. So government has to come in and actually try to push a little bit, to put a little bit of rescue to that so that they can, come out of from that issue and solve their thing and continue serving people of that particular land. So here it was just saying that, the Federal Reserve and the certain department of the government have actually come in to say that they're going to rescue this bank. They actually give them the money on a deposit account. So they're rescuing the deposit account, not a business side, the client's account, the account that clients actually put money, release money, they're risking that so that people they can get their money. So the last time this type of thing happened, it was actually 2008, which is way 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 long back. I think it was a crisis of if yeah, it was that time of where there was a little bit of a crisis in economy in the world. It was around 2008. So that's one of the toughest news to be recovered now. So things like this, they actually affected the global market. They actually drive how the United States now come up with the inflation rate. So we saw the US actually come up with the inflation rate of 25 basis points. which is it's actually hard to get to the 25 basis points. A lot of people they want to now start buying things in a really, really, expensive, and you know economy is really, really getting really tight and tight. So the other thing that we saw last week is Powell, which is the president of Federal Reserve of the United States, actually coming out, increasing this, announcing about the 25 basis points. Didn't get to 50 basis points like, United Europe, like the United Kingdom, UK, uh, but it get to 25 basis points, which is balancing out with how the economy is actually, doing at particular time, which is really, really great. So the economists, they're actually asking questions and saying that, can Powell actually balance the two, keep the inflation at a level where economy can perform, at a level that people can buy, producers can produce, and economy can get the feeds from what people they are doing in a daily basis. So this is what the biggest, power. It's actually one of the powerful. In fact, the story say history remembers Powell as a vocal, as a slayer of inflation. So he's the slayer of inflation, right? And Ben Mark as a crisis of firefighters. So this guy had already gained the names, the nicknames, Uh, Paul, so it's a slayer of inflation. Ben Mark, the Bannock, it's a crisis firefighters. So Paul is the danger of having to play both role at once, or what there may be ways to choose between them. Uh, on the face of it, Powell Federal Reserve this week pushes ahead with what's been its policy for the past year, raising the interest rate. So his policy is being pushing to raise the interest rate all the time, but at the same time making sure the economy is actually at a very, very good position that people can be, live. So things are really, really not that bad in US, but not really that bad, whereby we can compare to United Kingdom, to UK, or what we've been seeing in France, where uh, the one of the banks there, having very, very, crucial crisis. Suisse, yeah, it was, yeah, Credit Suisse having, some issues in terms of, the Feds also saying that, hey, the deposit account of yours, definitely you don't have enough money to actually handle this type of a business. And we saw the government of France, coming pumping out billions of money. I think it was over 50 billions that been pumping in to Credit Suisse so that they can handle that situation. So this is what has been happening in Europe, and all these they're going to come to us in Africa. They are coming to us. Once they come to us, we are the ones who's gonna pay more to cover those problems. That's what has been happening. The last topic here, it's actually the crude oil heads for the weekly advance as US dollar gives up the ground. So we saw dollar declining, oil headed for the weekly advance at particular that the Federal Reserve may be close to ending its rate hiking cycle, undermining the dollar just as China continued to leave the COVID zero further behind. So West Texas Intermediate Trade, which is WTI, nearly get to the $70 per barrel after a rising intraday loss. The U.S. crude benchmark has advanced by more than a $3 per barrel this week, while the U.S. currencies has lost more than 1%. Oil weekly gain follow a significant decline in the prior 5-day period as a banking crisis continue flagged. So we saw the West Texas Intermediate Company actually, get to the $70 per barrel. So there was a time I passed by the garage and having conversation with one of the petrol attendants, and the way to actually tell me that, hey man, uh, petrol is not gonna drop down, but diesel it is. So if you look at this story, it actually give you the a little bit of sense that the crude oil actually gain, but the West Texas, the WTI, it has a little bit of, no, the Western Texas gain, the crude drop. That's why diesel can drop, petrol can continue stay at the same position, or maybe a little bit of go, a little bit of up. So yeah, that's what we are actually, saw this week in terms of the global economy. Of course, there's been a lot of news, to check on it, but obviously, I do refer this thing on a Bloomberg. If you are, new, you want to know more about this global news, you just go on a Bloomberg.com. You can see all the type of global economic news, and you learn from there. Or else keep tuning in on the daily money market. Definitely, we're coming up with the ways of teaching each other bit by bit, and we can grow. We can become, one of the biggest channel to do this global economic, talk. So once more, thanks a lot. Enjoy uh, the weekend.